Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll wait another minute or so before we get started to give people a chance to join. And if you would, in the meantime, just put your name and your affiliation and your part of the world in the chat so that folks have an idea of who we've got with us this morning. That would be helpful. All right, it's 4 past the hour. That's my new start time, is 4 past. So thank you all for joining us this morning. Vincent Atchity, CEO of Mental Health Colorado, and very happy that you're with us for our monthly reports and updates meeting from our partners all around the state who are thinking about the disentanglement of mental health and criminal justice. That's the work that we are trying to keep a spotlight on with these meetings. And I'm going to introduce our presenter for today and turn it over to Lynn Unger. Thank you so much, Lynn, for being willing to share your work with this group of folks. And generally we have a presentation for 20 or 30 minutes or so, and then some time for questions and updates from other partners from around the state. And then we will try and wrap things up promptly at 15 past. So thank you, Lynn. Take it away.
Thanks, Vincent, and thank you everyone for having me today. I'm excited to share with you some of the things that Denver County Court is doing in collaboration with Denver and the state and the nation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I promise not to bore you and read slides, but it is still helpful to there we go. Are you seeing the right screen there, the big one?
Yep.
Okay.
We can see your next slide also.
It's so hard when you have two. That's okay. Well, it's so hard when you have two screens.
It is.
We'll just go with this if that's okay with you guys.
It's
I don't care that you can see a sneak peek. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on why Denver County Court has treatment court specialty programs and dockets. But I do want to share with you that, I'm really proud of Denver County Court and its leadership, going from our presiding judge to administration to all of my colleagues and the people that are doing the work on the ground, because the perspective is supported that people come into our criminal justice system not because of the desire to shoplift or trespass, but because there is a potential underlying cause of that criminal behavior. And so with that, I have been supported in helping develop support or implement 8 different programs and initiatives, which is really phenomenal, I think, for Denver. And I'm going to go through some of them in more detail than others because some target mental health more than others. But I just, again, will reiterate that everyone that comes in, there's some sort of potential underlying cause that probably brought them here. And so I think all of them are important to know about. This first one is our wellness program. And this is our newest program. It just launched in October, just about a month ago. And this program serves individuals who have low-level charges, so general sessions here in Denver, and have behavioral health needs or on our restorative options collaboration list. This list is made up of the top 300 individuals who have had the most cases in the last 3 years, along with the top 100 individuals who have had the most cases in the last year. And when I talk about cases, this is misdemeanor cases, municipal cases, and misdemeanor cases. What we saw with the wellness program and why we wanted to provide this harm reduction kind of person-centered trauma-informed approach was with the passage of Senate Bill 19191, which adjusted the bond schedule and said that individuals with certain charges must be given bond within 2 hours, and 4 hours after giving bond, they have to be released. We saw this population really go quickly in and out of our jail. And we weren't able to connect with them in a meaningful way to try to connect them to any resources or services that might assist them in the community and support them and stay in the community. So we wanted to address that quick release process. So we worked with our stakeholders on the city and county level to identify a process that would work out, and we offer a deferred prosecution to individuals. Anyone is eligible that has a non-domestic violence case, again on the municipal level, that has a behavioral health need. This behavioral health need is identified by mental health alerts that are given by the jail or by being on the ROC list. It's a voluntary program, and when people say that they want to come in, we conduct the CCAT, which is the Center for Court Innovation's assessment tool that helps us identify some things that might be helpful to that person, different flags like mental health, substance use, trauma, housing, employment, education. And once we do that CCAT with individuals, we sit down with them and we talk about what is going to make them successful. We set 1 to 6 goals with them, and we connect them to community services and resources to help them complete those goals. And when we talk about goals, I like to let people know that this is self-identified. We're not saying your goal is to be sober for 6 months. We're not saying your goal is to go to treatment for a month. These are self-identified goals and can be things like getting an ID or getting connected to Colorado Coalition for the Homeless if they are struggling with housing instability. They are self-identified goals that we help support that person in meeting. Another area that we wanted wellness to target was direct release, those warm handoffs, building relationship and rapport. So we work with the jail to coordinate releases so that individuals aren't coming out of the jail and we're saying, hey, come back tomorrow or come back later, but they were right there and we can begin work with them and connection with them right away. We also wanted to be mindful of not asking people to come back to what I call the criminal justice neighborhood in Denver. All of our criminal justice buildings are kind of in one area and are very trauma inducing. Not often do people have positive experiences in our criminal justice neighborhood. So we didn't want them to come back and have regular court appearances. We didn't want them to have to come back and meet with us in our criminal justice neighborhood. So we can meet with them in the community. Individuals are set out for a 56-day review date when they enter into the deferred prosecution. And if they complete their goals before then, as soon as they complete their goals, it could be 1 day, could be a week, could be all 56 days, the case is dismissed and they don't have to appear on that 56th day. If they need more time, they can come back and let us know, and likely we would grant that. I'm going to move on to our next initiative, and that one is our Comm Diversion program. Comm Diversion, we are finalizing we finalized the plan for this, and we're hopeful to implement in early 2022, so January 2022. I likely don't have to tell this group about the problem that Colorado, Denver, and the nation really has with individuals who have legal competency issues and are waiting for evaluation, waiting for restoration, inpatient or out. The problem is large, as you probably well know. So we really wanted to take a look at this population and say, what could we do so that they don't get into the system, they don't get onto those wait lists. We also wanted to provide a program that didn't just provide restoration services, that when someone's found legally not competent, the main goal is to provide them with education and services that are going to make them competent to stand trial. But we wanted to look at the person as a whole and connect them to those resources and services that could really help, again, keep them connected and successful in the community. So our program focuses on those individuals when they first come into our system. We identify individuals, do a screen for likelihood of competency, and then we divert them out to a specialized team. We can create a plan with them, and we set them out for about 6 months as a review date. And then bi-weekly, a team reviews that plan. And when the person completes the plan, then those charges aren't filed or they're dismissed. So that's in a nutshell, how it works. But how do we identify these people? Well, we're really fortunate in Denver to have what we call the CD list. And this list includes individuals who have been found not competent in the last 3 years on municipal level cases, which is a large population in Denver, misdemeanor and felony cases. We can also accept referrals from people that the jail is seeing by their behavioral health staff, is seeing that are having maybe some troublesome issues. DA or defense counsel can also make referrals as well. So our goal is, once a person is booked in, to identify them as quickly as possible and do the likelihood for competency screen with those individuals. We want it to be as inclusive as possible on the charges that we could accept, because we are targeting in Comm through diversion misdemeanor and felony offenses. So there are 3 tiers, and you can see the charges here that are presumptively qualify, that automatically we can just kind of go in and do the screen to see if they're likely competent or not. Ones that do need some screening by the DA's office so that they can approve that. And then there are some charges that are not eligible for consideration at this time. So the positive case outcome, when the client meets the goals, and again, we set them out for 6 months, but if they complete those treatment goals, and those can be fluid because we're meeting bi-weekly to talk about their progress, no charges are filed. The court's notified and that court date is vacated. If a person does not complete those goals, the team reviews them and the case can be filed and then proceed in the normal adjudication process. All right, guys staying with me? Okay. This next program is really exciting, and I'm very proud of this program, our Forensic Peer Navigator Program. The court actually employs 4 peer professionals, so they are my colleagues. And it has been wonderful to see the impact that these peer professionals have had on our population and who they can serve. Who better to understand the system than someone who has been in the system? So they have a history of criminal justice in their background and are also in recovery. We can work with anybody at any point in the adjudication process. So someone that's just booked into jail, someone that is on probation, someone that's just completed a sentence. We can work with anybody on any level of charge, misdemeanor or general sessions in the process. It's always voluntary. That's something really important, that as an organization, we wanted to educate the court and our stakeholders about what is the peer profession and what do peers do. They're not case managers. They are supportive in helping support people through their own recovery journey and through the court system. We are a free call in the jail, which is exciting. So we do receive a lot of self-referrals from that, individuals who call us from the jail asking for peer support. We are present in courtrooms here at Lindsay Flanagan Courthouse, also in the city and county building, where we just hang out and connect with people and introduce ourselves. And we find that a lot of people reconnect with us. We give them our cards and then they come back. We have community agencies and providers who also refer some of their clients to us. And then also probation and other criminal justice stakeholders refer to the program as well. And I posted just on this slide, the Peer Navigator flyer. It tells a little bit about what they do. And this is what we give to prospective clients if they want to connect with us. The next Outreach Court, the next initiative we have is Outreach Court. I like to walk people through why we designed this. And if everybody will just do a small exercise with me. Can you guys remember? So it was really cold this morning. So put yourself back in bed. It feels so good, right? Nobody wanted to get out of bed this morning. So you woke up and think about the first thing that you touched. I pushed the off on my alarm clock. So that first thing that you touched, I want you to hold it in your hand. And then I want you to hopefully, maybe you got out of bed, maybe push snooze a few times, but get out of bed and think about what's the next thing you touched. And I want you to hold that. And then presumptively you're getting ready for work today. Put all those things that you're touching throughout the day in your arms. I mean, you might need to get a box or a backpack or something like that. But now I'd like you to get down here to where I am, Lindsay Fleming Courthouse, because you have a court date. You've lost your car keys and you cannot drive. So what are you going to do? How are you going to get there? Just this little exercise here, I'm already overwhelmed with the things I touched and thinking that I ride my bike to work, but put all those things on my bicycle. I would be very challenged. Individuals who are in our community often want to take care of low-level charges, outstanding fines and costs, or low-level warrants, but they face these barriers of not having access to come down to Lindsay Flanagan Courthouse, not having a place to put their things, not access to maybe the same hygiene items that you and I have. So they might face stigma when they come into this big, intimidating building. I work in Lindsay Flanagan Courthouse and I find it intimidating to come in every morning. And so we wanted to bring the court to the people. We wanted to bring it out into the community. So we partner with Haven of Hope and the Denver Public Library to host Outreach Court 2 times a month. And this is a supportive, trauma-informed place where individuals can come in and they're greeted by a peer professional. They meet with attorneys and they can get some of those outstanding fines and costs, those low-level warrants cleared. And the case is usually taken care of by an alternative case resolution, which means a connection to community resources and services. And one thing that is important to know about Outreach Court is we're not asking people to go and connect with something and then come back and let us know how it went. We're bringing the community providers to the court so that if someone says, I need help signing up for benefits, we've got DHS right there and they can do that right away, maybe even before they go before the judge, and then their case is positively resolved. That was the connection that was needed in order to close that case. I am hopeful, just lately we have been able to connect with the safe outdoor spaces, the SOS camps, and run them concurrently with our Outreach Court at Haven of Hope. And that's been largely successful. So I'm excited to see where Outreach Court goes. I noticed there's several other stakeholders from different jurisdictions here in Colorado. One of the things on our list is to also include other jurisdictions potentially for a biannual metro-wide Outreach Court, because we find that a lot of our clients have cases not only in Denver, but in some of our neighboring jurisdictions as well. So just put it on your radar because I might be talking to some of you soon. Next up is our HIM docket, helping, engaging, and motivating. Drugs possession was defelonized in March 2020. And Denver was the only jurisdiction where this created a significant shift. Since Denver County is an island, we're a home rule city and county, misdemeanors usually in all other jurisdictions stay up in district court. But because of a law change, the misdemeanors came into Denver County Court. So we were challenged, how do we serve these people with drug possession charge in a meaningful way? And we did a lot of research across the country with other jurisdictions that had defelonized possession as well. And what we came up with was that we needed to find kind of a harm reduction model, meet people where they were, and develop relationships and rapport with them to help them be successful. So individuals who are charged with drug misdemeanor ones are offered HIM offer. And similar to what I was describing in wellness, they sit down and they develop 1 to 6 goals with their specialized HIM probation officer. And once they complete those goals, their charges are dismissed. You'll notice that we launched on March 1st, 2020. And if you guys remember that, we ran for about 14 days before we all shut down. So HIM was shut down for just a couple of months, but then we figured out how to do it virtually. But even in that first 2 weeks that we were running, we had individuals who were asked to complete 1 goal, and they would complete that goal same day of meeting with us, come back to the court and have their case dismissed. We're seeing a huge success with HIM. Again, we don't want people to come back to the system, have multiple court dates. We want to let them decide what is success for them, what is helpful to them, and then have a positive case resolution when they're able to complete those things with our help. I'm going to quickly just skip over this slide, but it's about treatment courts. We have over 70 treatment courts in Colorado, which is really phenomenal. They are highly successful when the evidence-based and best practices are followed. There's a little video in here, but I'd rather see you all and have some questions in a little bit than play the video for you. But one of our courts, Sobriety Court, is a treatment court. It's a DUI court and it follows those evidence-based practices. It targets individuals who have second and third DUIs. So in Colorado, those are misdemeanors. And again, it is a supportive model that uses a non-adversarial approach to help support our participants in their journey to recovery. The goal of treatment courts is not sobriety, as the name Sobriety Court would mention, it is recovery. And so using that perspective and using a non-adversarial whole person approach, Sobriety Court has had great success in the populations that we serve and has we have about a 92% completion rate. So individuals that commence from Sobriety Court or graduate. And our recidivism rate is fairly low as well. In about overall, I think it's around 15%. And we started in 2011. We're almost through all of our programs. Hopefully you guys are still with me. I can see some of your faces. REACH is a fairly new program and is still kind of like this flower, finding its way up through the crack into the light. This program is designed to target those individuals who've been affected by trauma and use a gender response to help support them in the community. So there's a small list of charges that are eligible for REACH, and a trauma screen is conducted with individuals who come into the jail. And if that person positively screens positive for trauma, then they're offered a deferred judgment to enter into REACH. Similar to HEM and Wellness, they work on 1 to 6 goals that are set by that individual. And once they are completed, then the case is dismissed. Unique to this program is the utilization of the Women's Risk and Need Assessment, the WRNA. One of the things that Denver as a whole, not just Denver County Court, is working on in this next year is to provide a more gender responsive approach to all of our programs and all of the people who are on probation or in our criminal justice system. Currently, Colorado recognizes the LSI as the necessary tool needed to support people when they are on probation. We'd like to see a more gender responsive approach. And so Denver as a collaborative, not just county court, but district and some of our community partners as well, have agreed to go through the, use the WRNA. We are getting technical assistance from the University of Utah's Criminal Justice Center to help us implement this. And as a side note, the WRNA, even though it's the Women's Risk and Need Assessment, can also be utilized for those individuals who identify as male as well. Next up, who's been to the DMV? I've been to the DMV, not lately, thank you. But I always think about Zootopia and that sloth that's at the little front desk and he's like, hello. Well, that I think is probably, I see a lot of you chuckling, like an experience of many people, and it's not easy to navigate the DMV. And so when we took a look in 2019, we saw that individuals who are coming through our system were coming through on these DUR cases. And you can see at the time when we rolled this, over 5,000 cases were filed each year. If you remember back when I talked about the restorative options collaboration list, the ROC list, when we took a look at that, the majority of clients with misdemeanor cases were DURs. And a lot of it has to do with the DMV and having to navigate that system. So we created the Dur Navigator Program. This is people are referred based on their charge by the DA's office. And the navigators really help people navigate not only the DMV, but potentially child support services, other jurisdictions that they have outstanding judgment warrants in, fines and costs. It's someone that sits down and lays out the process for you of what you need to do to get your license back, and then helps you check those boxes off or helps you communicate to those outside jurisdictions if needed to help you get your license back. You can see that the program has been highly successful. When you look at the 888 cases that have been dismissed, that means 888 people have gotten their license back. That's pretty incredible when you think about it started just in June of 2019. So when I mentioned earlier that the problem-solving court models, that we have over 70 in Colorado, and then we have our 8 programs in Denver. But I think really for me is what I started with, how proud I am of not only Denver, but Colorado and our fellow neighbors and jurisdictions of really trying to use a different lens, a different perspective when we're trying to assist people or when people are coming into the criminal justice system. Okay, if you have glasses, you might want to put them on, but don't squint too hard. This next slide is a lot to handle. I prefer this, the funnel model of the sequential intercept model. If you're not familiar with it, the official model now is linear, but I really like the funnel, and I've always kind of stuck to the old school because my goal is to work myself out of a job. I am in intercept 3 there, but the more that we get things in intercept 0, the more people we connect with in intercept 0, the less people that come down into the funnel. And while Denver has a robust amount of services and resources that can help connect people, there's so many, like you look at intercept 2, there's so many in there. I really want to see our intercept 0 grow so that people don't even come down into the system, that you won't need people like me or programs like Denver County Court has to help assist people getting back into the community. I won't leave this up there because it's really hard to read. And then finally, this is really, I love, if you haven't seen this before, I really like this depiction of what are we striving for. Equality is nice, but it doesn't give everyone the same view of the game. Equity is great, but when we have true justice, we're removing those barriers so that everyone can enjoy life and have the same access to it. And then this is my contact information there. And then I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, that was a lot. Do you all have any questions?
Lynn, somebody in the chat wants to know if you can share your slides. And if you're willing to do that, we can do that and send them out to the group.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And I see, I was just looking at the chat. Do you want the, there's one about the flyers. Would you like the Forensic Dur Navigator flyer? Yes, okay, I can do that. Excellent. Well, I mean, I really encourage you to reach out. If you do have any questions, please reach out. I'm always happy to speak with you, and reach out if your jurisdiction is doing really innovative things, similar things. I really love collaboration. I don't like to, well, this sounds bad, but I don't want to work harder than I have to, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think that we can learn from each other, implement similar things. And so I'm always interested to know, what our neighbors are doing and ways that we might be able to collaborate.
Neil has a question. Neil, do you want to ask your question? You want me to?
I can. I'm off camera, but I can. Hi, Lynn. I've seen this presentation before. I think we're so lucky to have you in Denver. I'm such a huge supporter of what you're doing there and these initiatives. My question is, is there anything on the horizon that is a specific challenge or barrier that you see with getting these things up and running and being the most effective programs they can be?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind right now is, I think a struggle that everyone is having is hiring. That has been a significant challenge for us lately. And the pandemic, it continues to throw things our way. We've gotten pretty good about dodging them, but I think right now hiring is the biggest barrier that we're facing in our programs. So I think that's a difficulty. Other than that, there are some things I think, and when I say hiring, I mean staffing too, because it's not just hiring for our programs, but it's staffing of our community partners and agencies. It's staffing of our criminal justice agencies that is strained right now. And in order to make all these things work, we all have to work together. And while we're fortunate in Denver that everyone has bought in and wants to work together, sometimes the staffing challenges don't let us move the way that we have designed things or move to the most efficient and effective manner. An example would be we want to do warm handoffs and coordinated releases, and the sheriff is a great partner. They're fantastic. But due to some of the challenges that they're having in their staffing, sometimes those warm handoffs can't happen, and they happen later than 8 p.m., which is when our last program goes home for the day. So for me, I think that's the biggest barrier right now.
Okay, thank you. It's one that's shared among a lot of different places for sure. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Other questions? Sonia, do you want to ask a question?
Hi, I actually want to ask a couple questions, but I put one in there. You mentioned the counties you worked with across the country regarding the HEM project.
Mm-hmm.
And so can you say which ones they were, like who was handling that well?
Yeah, so I talked to California, and what basically the feedback that I got from other states was not to do the drug court model for this population. And so that came back overwhelmingly. And so I started to look, and we looked at New York actually, and we went and visited one of their programs because I was really struck by how they handled their misdemeanor cases, the misdemeanor drug population cases. And so their program, I believe it was called New Start, was it? I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was a program out of New York that we went to visit and really learned from and helped us shape him to be what it is today. Using that kind of harm reduction model, meeting people where they are, referring them to meaningful resources and services. So if you're interested in the program name, I can look it up. I just can't remember at the moment.
I'll follow up with you on that. And then I was going to ask you a couple more questions. So when you talked, and sorry, I was driving at the beginning, so I couldn't take all the notes I wanted, but in one of the first programs you were talking about how you all had identified the 300 top, for lack of a better word, utilizers, and then the next level of 100. When you were looking at that, was that just recidivism through the jails and the criminal legal system, or were you also looking at, did you cross-reference with like hospitalizations?
So it's the ROC list, Restorative Options Collaboration list. It's only looks at the top 300 individuals who have the most cases filed in the last 3 years, and then the top 100 who have the most filed in the last year.
Okay. So then in looking at that, are you all going to go back? And I'm just thinking like from a financial perspective, I would guess that quite a number would probably be people who've also been utilizing the behavioral health side of the equation. So I guess I would just be interested to know if you all are going to like do that deeper dive, and then also what that looks like as far as appropriate housing. Like,
sure. So we have in the past, before the wellness program was revamped, it was Wellness Court, and we did work with Denver Health to cross-reference and help us determine kind of the return on investment, what we were seeing for the people we were supporting in Wellness Court. So we have done that in the past. We're not currently doing that with the wellness program. You know, we've only been up in operation for 1 month, and we're waiting to see what that ROC utilization looks like in that GS level population. In all of our programs, we do track the housing stability of the person when they first come into the program and then post as well. And so eventually, if you can loan me a data person, we would love to cross-reference that with the ROC list to see the impact that the programs are having on that. So that could definitely be a future goal. Just have to hire someone.
Great, thank you so much. Anybody else have a question for Lynn? And does anybody else have any other updates, news items to share with us this morning? Well, thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much for your presentation and for your awesome work. We will make your materials available to the folks on our list. I'll just mention that we held a virtual National Prosecutors Summit on mental health last week and had something like 140 prosecutors' offices from all over the country registered for that, and a whole bunch of impressive presentations about prosecutor-led diversion all over the place. Those materials and a recording of that meeting are available on our website. Emma maybe can drop a link to that in the site, into the chat. In the new year, we're going to be working on putting together a virtual summit focused on smaller communities. That was one of the observations at this group is we had a lot of presentations from big cities that have lots of resources, and some of the partners from smaller communities would appreciate some more focus on what can be done in rural and frontier communities where the resources are not as generous as they are in some of the bigger places. So we'll be working on that. And I think that's it for my updates for today. And if nobody has anything else, we will end a little bit ahead of schedule, and you can have a few minutes for lunch. All right. Well, thank you all so much. We hope to see you again next time around. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you all. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you.